Thank you very much, Madam Chairman, and thank you, Secretary, for your service. In the 2021 State of Our Schools report, it was found out that there was an $85 billion per year gap between what school facilities need to be brought up to standard today, to sophisticated and relevancy, versus what the money has been committed by the states. And last month, my colleague and friend Bobby Scott passed in the committee the Reopen and Rebuild American School Act, which I'm the co-sponsor over here. And it called for a $130 billion investment by 10 years by the federal government to get these buildings up to speed. And you know yourself, they're closing schools early because of heat. Philadelphia, those schools weren't built when air conditioning was standard feature. In my community of Cranston, Rhode Island, they had to keep the windows open all winter and the kids in coats because the ventilation system and COVID was too much. So isn't it time we made a significant investment? I know the president has called for $2 million to have a coordinating office in your department to help move money around. I know there's funds in the American Rescue Plan, et cetera, but do you think it's time we have a federal commitment to fixing up these facilities, helping the states?
Yes, sir, and I think these issues are even more highlighted when we talk about school security. I can tell you, when I served as a principal of an elementary school, a fairly modern elementary school, the cafeteria and the media center were the only air-conditioned spaces. So in May and June, I had a schedule of teachers rotating through those spaces so that they and their students could get fresh air and could breathe easier. That's how our schools are operating in many places across the country. I can also tell you, Senator, that when I visited schools at the beginning part of my time as a Secretary of Education, some schools' reopening efforts were impacted by the impacts of deferred maintenance. Schools that had poor circulation, poor airflow, and their reopening was delayed because of that. We do have to take a very serious look at our schoolhouses and look at it as infrastructure is equity. Unfortunately, there are different standards in different places, and we have to make sure that our schools are places where children can learn, where staff want to work, and it's safe for students. And I do believe our efforts are there to look at this, but I do believe a commitment is needed for this to take place.
No, you're actually right. And I think it's an equity issue, because you go to places in Rhode Island, Central Falls High School, which is the smallest community in the state, a mile by a mile, mostly Latinos and Latinas. They have a high school that was built in the 1920s, I'm guessing. They are going to build a new high school, but you can see that everywhere. We have in the United States an estimated 43 million adults who are low-skilled in literacy and 63 million adults who are low-skilled in numeracy. Mm-hmm. And in this modern, sophisticated economy, if you can't read and write, getting a job beyond the local fast foods is challenging. Do we have to do more to help adult education in the United States, increase funding?
Absolutely. I believe not only is it important that we focus on our adult education population because the system didn't work for them the first time around, but we also know that not only for their family but for their community, it pays economic dividends. You know, their quality of life improves, their ability to contribute improves, and there are programs out there, especially now with the economy the way it is and the job opportunities that exist. We need to do a better job connecting them with high-paying jobs. That's just quality of life for their family. Mm-hmm. And as was mentioned in one of the earlier statements, you know, this has a multi-generational approach, right? If the parent has a better-paying job, they might have more opportunity to be with their children at home and help them with their homework. So I do believe we have a responsibility to improve adult education, and there's an opportunity here for success for these students and for their communities.
Well, in the final seconds I have to mention the 50th anniversary of the Pell Grant. I had the distinction of succeeding Senator Pell. No one could replace him. And if you really wanted to feel good about yourself, you marched in the parade with him and you pretended they were cheering for you. So that's a very good technique. But we have to do more, I think, than just simply bump up the Pell Grant every year. And Senator Collins and I have the PASS Act, which is a much more comprehensive way to set goals at the state level for attainment, to have a systematic sort of from preschool, grammar school, all the way into college, so that they're ready, young people are ready to go to school. So I would ask you to look very closely at that, Mr. Secretary.
Thank you.
And thank you very much.